Hello, everybody. I'm Paul Ryden. There is not a single one of us who will go through life trouble free. It could be illness, loss of a loved one, job loss, family dysfunction, career setbacks. Everyone deals with something at one time or another. The key to getting through tough times is how you respond when they come. Our guest today, Jay Bramburger, has had his share of trouble, but instead of focusing inward, he saw the need to reach out and help others. And he's done so in his book, You're Not Alone. And he comes to us today from Westport in Ontario, Canada. Good to see you, Jay.
Yes, it's great to see you, Paul. Thank you very much for having me on your
You
program.
you bet. Now the illustration on the cover of your show the cover of your book. You got it there?
Oh, yes, I
That
do.
illustration of that poor kid lying on the floor, blood, a horse running. That's you,
Yes, yes, it is.
a 9-year-old kid. Tell us the story.
So yeah, when I was nine, my family used to go horseback riding every weekend, and I rode the same horse, a horse named Coley. And with the horse, Coley had a really bad habit. Once we got near the barn, of course, he would bolt to, it meant food, so he
Yeah,
would
of
just
course.
bolt and say, "Hey, I'm out of here."
Hey, I can identify
Um,
with that.
Yes. So with me being this little 9-year-old guy, I knew it was coming. So I would pull back on the reins and then steer him off into the other fields and then continue on. And he was fine. Um, it was May 24th long weekend in 1979. And as we came to the point where he was getting ready to bolt, I could feel him and I was all ready for him. And as he took off, I pulled back on the reins and then I turned the rein to turn him out. But as this happened, I think it was a bee or a wasp or something stung him in the neck and spooked him.
Mm.
So he reared up. And of course, I wasn't expecting it. And off I went. I fell off the back. And my left leg ended up getting stuck through the stirrup.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was now behind the horse, and then, of course, he took off running, and then I was dragged, and I
Ah,
bounced behind the horse for 3 fields in a stone fence.
good grief.
Um, yes, so that, finally, my leg came loose, and, of course, I was just a bloody, heaping mess sitting
Ah,
there, and, yeah, my dad and my sister, of course, were running behind, and then, my dad got me, and, they of course, what do you do? They figured I was done.
oh.
At any rate, yeah, they got me back to the barn and they, of course, called 911 and the ambulance was going to be too long. But there was somebody there that pulled in a station wagon. So my dad said, "Hey, I got to get my son to the hospital." So I ended up going in the back of the station wagon. They got me to the hospital. And uh, I just remember waking up and kind of looking around and through this, of course, there was a lot of injury. I shattered my elbow, the scars on my face, everything, complete chaos, really. There was a priest that read me my last rites.
Good
So
grief.
then they were giving me 3 days, and if things didn't turn around in those 3 days, they were going to pull the plug. And of course I was in the unit, my whole left side, of my epidermis on my ribs and everything was burnt right off. So I was in the burn unit, where I was in isolation. And so I had my 3 days, and during that time, my body just decided, "Hey, I'm gonna fight. I'm gonna live. I heard my last rites. I'm not giving up."
Mm.
And that set the tone for my life,
Right.
you know, survive.
Yeah.
And I think for a lot of us, that's the key is survival. So that I think set everything in motion for me. And then I spent 2 months in in the hospital. I was in intensive care for a week and a half,
Mm.
and then things improved very quickly. They moved me out into the room. I was there for 2 months, and then I was sent home.
Well, that
And
that really did set the tone for you because this is not a book of psychological counseling or self-help. It's a book of poetry that speaks to the heart of those who are suffering. Some, not as badly as you did, or some worse than what you went through. But to let them know that they do have someone to turn to, that they are, like the title says, they're not alone.
Absolutely. And I think that is so important, and I'm really happy that you brought that up because we're not alone. No matter how lonely you may feel, I think the big message with a lot of this is not only you're not alone, but you're not the only one that has ever felt this way.
Right.
Other people have gone through this and
Hmm.
survived. You can too. Have the hope. Stay positive, stay to yourself
Hmm.
and accept yourself. Accept the flaws, accept everything that encompasses all of it. Looking at myself with a lot of the scars that I endured during the horse accident, I've lived with my whole life. I look in the mirror going, whoa, but it's
You
turned
look fine to
into,
me.
thank you. But it's turned into now where, of course, we look in the mirror, and if we know the scars are there, other people may not see it,
Mm,
but you know it's there, so that's your focus,
mm,
and, it's all, I think, part of the acceptance to who you are.
right.
One of my favorite poems that I wrote, um, in the book deals specifically with that, um, and, it I think it's called Your Imagination Takes Over.
Mm,
And that poem is specifically just about who you are, accepting you for who you are, and moving on with life,
yeah.
and in the poem, it kinda gives that decision, what is better, death or living? And living is accepting who you are, flaws and all, and, none of us are perfect, and it's taken me a very, very long time to accept who I am, um, without looking in the mirror and saying, "Oof, okay."
Mm,
But I've now done that, and that's one of the big messages that I'd like to send to all of the readers is that, it's okay not to be perfect because
yeah.
none of us are.
Yeah. It's okay not
And
to be okay. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. So that I think is part of the message that I'm trying to send with the writings, with how everything is laid out, um, is I think battling for your self-worth, um, and your feelings. I always had problems with my emotions. I could never express them very well. Um, so I was able to find poetry as an outlet for me. Um, and to this day, I still use it. I'm I go to weekly counseling for some help with, things that have happened in my
Yeah,
life.
sure.
Um, but my counselor, who I think she should be on the Mensa trail, she's absolutely brilliant, if she's not already there. But she has really honed in on my poetry ability, and that's tapping into getting to my emotions. So she's really encouraged my writing ability in order to get me to talk, especially about the things that I could never say.
And that started as a teenager.
Yes, absolutely. My whole life has been like that. Guys in the military, spending 33 years in the military, I spent a long time sailing on the ships throughout the world. And, there's people in there that go through a lot of the emotions, a lot of the depression. And they've sat down with me saying, Jay, I'm really feeling sad. So I would take in, and I'm a very good listener. So I would really take what they say to heart. And then through their stories and their emotions, I would be able to transcribe them in poetry. And I come back a couple of days and say, hey, I wrote something for you, bud. You're going
Mm,
to be okay.
man.
Is this how you're feeling? And yeah, and I'd have grown men, these big burly guys, break down in tears. And, we're kind of arm in arm, uh, building each other in the camaraderie that exists within the military.
The
And so that's one of the ways I've bonded with a lot of people
yeah. Well,
throughout my life.
you moved your family to tears with that first poem after your a hockey teammate had passed away, and that's kind of where it
Yes.
started, right?
Absolutely, yes, with Steve, and I believe I was 15 or 16 years old, and he died in a car crash, and throughout the funeral, the wake, I had no idea how to express things. I I didn't respond to it the way that I thought. I didn't have the tears. I didn't have, the feeling badly. I just felt completely numb. There was nothing. And it really surprised me. I thought, well, what's wrong with me?
Mhm.
I'm looking at all my friends that are breaking down, and then I thought, oh, there's something not right. But 2 months later, I was down in the basement playing with the cat, and all of a sudden it hit me. I started bawling my eyes out uncontrollably. And my mom being a tutor at the time, I went over to the desk and sat down and I wrote a message from Stephen,
Yeah.
um, which I probably wrote it in minutes. It just
Mhm.
flowed onto the page. And I thought, wow. Um, and then, of course, I went up for dinner, recited it to my family. And my dad, who was the hockey coach of the team, of course, was dealing with their family a lot. So he was trying to be very strong, and he broke down. And
Mm.
I thought, wow, I kind of looked at the reaction from my family and thought, my feelings are real. And not only are they're just real, but it's also an outlet, and it's making them feel better to know that um they can cry. They can, excuse me, they can bring out these emotions. So it really brought everything to light to me, to how the impact can be. And it also, I think, in a sense, gave me permission to feel.
Mhm.
I didn't have to hide things.
Right.
And if this was the form that was best suited for me on this path, then that's the path I'm taking. And I've done that ever since with the writing of You're Not Alone, with a lot of the poems in there. Now, there's some poems that I would just wake up at 3 in the morning and write something, and there'd be really strange stuff that came out. I don't know where it came from. I didn't experience it,
Yeah.
but and it scared me
Uh-huh.
with the topic. There's one in particular that's in there that's a pretty creepy poem, and so I just don't want people to think that's me or I
Yeah, yeah.
experienced that, because it's called Dreaming All of the While, and it's pretty heavy poem. In fact, I called in sick the next day at work saying,
Oh,
"What's
man.
wrong with me?
Well, now,
What's going on?" I
well,
called my dad and said, "Mentally, I'm having some issues here."
you've headed
So
off on,
that pardon?
I'm sorry, no, I was going to say you've also headed off on other directions since then with a new
Yes.
project, Late
Yes.
After Dark. Tell us about
Yes.
that. This sounds like an interesting, you were telling me about it earlier about this interesting concept of a book within a book and some other really interesting things about it. Tell us about Late After Dark.
Okay. Yes. So Light After Dark, like I had mentioned, going through a lot of the counseling that I've gone through, this is when my counselor kind of reached into my emotions and brought a lot of stuff to light for me. And the poems are written based on those experiences.
Mhm.
Um, so it came out, and the poems I find are much deeper, they're more specific, dealing with addiction, um, dealing with everything in terms of emotions. But there's also some funny stuff where I wrote a poem about golf, and I enjoy playing golf.
Yeah, and your
Um,
song "Golf's Got," no, "The Tree's Got Game," right?
Trees Got Game.
Yeah,
Yes, that's actually
that's very funny, by the way.
yeah, thank you. So, and that's the one that I wrote that was playing with Bob, and this tree just, and even to this day, every time I play on that hole, that
Uh-huh.
tree gets my ball for me. And
Absolutely.
at the point we just sit and laugh now. So with a lot of the stuff, I've made it. A lot of the poems I've made into songs, because I find it gives a completely different feeling. So in saying all that, that led to this book within a book. And that's where Rooms came in. So Rooms is it's actually a rock opera that I wrote. So it's not poetry. It's on a completely different level. So you go through Light After Dark, and then you hit the Rooms, which is the title page, and then I wrote a little blurb on what Rooms is. And then after, at the bottom of that, there's a QR code. So if the reader wants to, I invite them on the journey to go on there with me, um, where they can click the QR code and it gives the link over to my website, which then the songs are all there for the rock opera. And then they can listen as well as read through in the book
Hmm.
on all of them. So they're, we're attacking different senses. And really, rooms is it's a psychological descent, so it's kind of going through this emotional journey
Mhm.
through these rooms, and that's so it is a different concept, and but it's something I think that's deeply moving
Mhm.
to me, and hopefully for the reader to experience. Um, yeah, that's the insight to it all. So I think that that's where it all derived from, and that's the upcoming project. It should be available in uh, I would say a month to a month and a half, it'll be coming out available. And so I'm really, really looking forward to it.
Well, we'll look forward to that as well. And as we go out now, could you share one of your poems from You're
Oh,
Not Alone
yes.
for the benefit of somebody who really does feel like they're alone?
Yes. Oh, let's see. Let's do one. Uh, okay. Well, there's one that I wrote. We'll do one called The Execution. I know it's not really
Okay.
where we're going with this, but I wrote this poem. A little bit of the background is I I'm a huge fan of Alice Cooper,
Mhm.
and I was at an Alice Cooper show. And we were 7 rows back, and they came to the point where they do the whole guillotine thing, where he chops his head off, and they hold up the head, and all the fake blood on everybody. And I got covered. And if that's your sort of thing, then it was really interesting. So, so I went home that night after the show, and the next day I thought, "Wow, that was incredible." The theatrical aspect of it, it really resonated with me. But then I thought, well, what else could he do? He's got the guillotine thing, so how else could he do this? So I thought, well, okay, what if um what if he electrocuted himself? So I thought, okay. And I went through every song trying to find something that could balance that out. And I couldn't find anything. So I decided I'm just going to write something myself. So I did,
Okay.
and I wrote a poem called The Execution.
Well, let's hear it.
So okay, the execution plays its song. Nobody feels that this is wrong. He moves to the chair. From his chest, his heart will tear. His eyeballs will start to flare. But life is not fair. The voltage will break his skin, for he has committed the ultimate sin. His mind has now gone blank. Deeper and deeper in that chair he sank. The execution has now begun, and the audience is having fun. They all know what he has done. The priests and sisters come together. They know his life is gone forever. Death is in the eye of the beholder, and this man will never get any older. He will now pay. He won't see another day.
Wow, that's really uplifting. I I already feel like I'm not alone.
But there you go.
That's
It's
great.
a little bit of retribution in that one.
Now, that's not in the book. You're alone, is it? You're not alone.
Yes, it is.
It
Yes,
is.
it
All
is.
right. All right.
Yes, yes, yes. That's one of them. That's I broke the book into subheadings,
Uh,
so that's
oh,
one of them in there. So yeah, it there's like Daddy's gone away,
yeah.
um, dealing with the loss of a father, um,
And the note from
and
Stephen as well.
yeah, message from Stephen.
Yeah.
And that's kind of in the beginning dealing with the I think the raw emotions, the straight on um vibe of I think the book to say uh that with these feelings, we all experience the tough stuff,
Yeah.
but
Well,
find the strength. You can make it through because others have, and others have been there.
well, the book
So
is called You're Not Alone. It's available on Amazon and elsewhere. Jay, thanks so much for joining us today. I appreciate it. Great to talk from you. Talk with you, I
thank
should
you.
say. And thank you, folks, for spending a few minutes with us on the Global Book Network. I'm Paul Ryden. We'll see you next time.